You guys remember the other day, JD Vance was at the University of Georgia speaking at an event. There was a student that stood up and asked one particular question about the Epstein files.
But President Trump multiple times called the files a hoax. The acting attorney general said Epstein shouldn't be a part of anything at the DOJ. If there are compromised government officials in those files, how can the public trust that this administration will hold anyone accountable when its own Justice Department is actively blocking the investigation? Given that, can you clearly articulate your stance on whether federal entities should have a formal investigation? Thank you.
When I saw that University of Georgia student ask that question of the vice president, I said, how did he get the opportunity to sit in front of that microphone and ask JD Vance an actual question? How did that happen? Why would they let something like that go down? He got on later and he told his story of how he got the opportunity to ask that question that JD Vance answered very badly.
I sat at the front of the event and was prepared to ask a question on whether there should be a formal investigation. When I saw they opened it up for Q&A, I immediately tried to get to the mic. When the spotlight came on for the Q&A, 5 people were already standing there wearing suits and dresses with TPUSA lanyards already positioned there. I still got up and got in line, and I think I was the first one there that was not a part of TPUSA, so I just sat in line and got ready to ask my question. When we were waiting in line, this lady in a blue top was going around asking people, especially not in TPUSA, what topic we are going to ask about. When I was waiting in line and the lady came up to me, I could tell from her tone that they were probably screening the questions by topic, so I just said that I was going to ask on foreign policy. After a few more times of people coming up to me and asking what my topic was, this finally happened.
Thank you so much.
This will be the last question.
Okay. Can we take 2 more? Because I like it. I like answering questions. We'll take a couple more.
If you could look closely in the back in there, when the woman in the blue dress, that this student, I didn't get his name, when he said he was trying to get up there and they asked him what they were going to ask, and he was already noticing this looks like they're trying to keep real questions from being asked. Just behind her, when she said this will be the last question, he's behind the woman in the red dress, and he's very disappointed. As soon as she says this will be the last question, he went, no. And then when JD Vance goes, I want a few more, he was like, yes. So anyways, this guy's telling his story of how he got to the front. I'm gonna let him finish his story because he tells it much better than me.
This was the last person in front of me, and when JD Vance said that they were going to have a few more questions, this lady immediately went back and started asking what my topic was again, and specifically what I was going to ask about, looking at my phone and saying, can you please read your question to me? I was astonished how they were talking to us, so I went off to the side to talk to somebody sitting down, and I looked back and immediately someone had cut me in line. The lady in blue put this girl right in front of me because her topic was better than mine, and here you can see me fighting back on that a little bit. Luckily, JD Vance asked for one more question again and finally let me ask a question, so I finally got to get off my chest.
Okay, yeah. We'll do one more. Sorry, real quick. I love this, but I got to go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President, and coming to UGA and allowing us to express our freedom of speech. So thank you so much.
This is my first time at a TPUSA event and a political event, but I just wanted to show that this was my experience, and they might preach for freedom of speech and non-censorship, but this was just my experience and how they managed the event.
Look at all the hurdles he had to jump just to ask that question, which seems like a question most Americans want the answers to. We all see the cover-up that's happening. We're trying to figure out what it is that they're up to, and also who is it that's implicated and who it is that they're hiding behind, and how bad this could be for, let's keep it real, things like national security, because people are on the hook, could be blackmailed, which, I mean, all the way up to the top is what the speculation is. So every time, this is from like campaign time, every time JD Vance is on any of these events, many times, we'll see crowds that are prepped for him. And this isn't just a JD Vance thing. I understand all politicians, most damn near all politicians have a crowd that they figured out. But they always have this defensiveness to protect JD Vance. Maybe outside chance, even though JD Vance showed up there and still was getting protected by TPUSA, there's been some speculation that folks within JD Vance's own circle in this administration, and all the folks that support and have created this atmosphere where this administration can thrive don't like them anything about JD Vance. And that even this event at the University of Georgia was a setup, especially with that small crowd size.
Looks like Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA may have set JD Vance up for failure at a recent rally in Georgia where the crowd was practically empty. Only 25% of the arena was full during a recent event where Turning Point USA held and the vice president spoke at. Because Erica Kirk was actually supposed to speak at the time the vice president spoke. And while she was pulled from the lineup due to, quote, security concerns. Well, here's the issue. Now we're learning from CBS News that the Secret Service did not determine that there were any security concerns present. So it's not really clear why Erica Kirk dropped out, unless maybe it was because the crowd size wasn't as big as they had hoped for. And while Vice President Vance went, was heckled at the event, and was at the event with only about 25% of the stadium full. Now, the excuse of security concerns didn't even make sense that night, just because if there's security concerns for Erica Kirk, wouldn't there be security concerns for the Vice President of the United States? But now we know there weren't. So what really happened?
What did really happen? Erica Kirk bailed on it. I talked about this the other day. She bailed on it over security concerns, considering what her family has been through. Who's going to argue with that, right? Except that excuse of security concerns really wasn't the case.
She's got contacts at CBS, and even they had to just run this headline. Secret Service determines no credible threats to UGA rally after Erica Kirk's cancellation, the source says. Embedded in the article, it reads, the U.S. Secret Service determined there were no credible threats to Tuesday's Turning Point USA rally at the University of Georgia, even as a planned co-appearance by Erica Kirk was canceled over unspecified security concerns. A person familiar with the matter tells CBS News, according to the source, that the site was secure and there were no known threats to the protectee. That would be VP. Now, while Kirk may have received hostile messages, including on social media, those were not part of any identified or actionable threat stream that was monitored by federal authorities.
The story keeps falling apart around them. JD Vance showed up. I mean, he's the vice president of the United States. You would think if everyone's being targeted, if Erica Vance, maybe not yet, but if Erica Kirk is there or is not going to be there and JD Vance is going to be there, why didn't those two concerns cross each other? The speculation is flying, which also has led, again, more people to try and figure out, are you guys just trying to make JD Vance look bad? This is the speculation portion of our Friday stream.
JD is halfway through the wood chipper right now. And so the whole attack on the Pope was to hit JD Vance. And if you don't understand that, then you don't understand Donald Trump. Donald Trump, as far as he's concerned, he would like to be the last Republican president because he's such a nihilist. He's such a narcissist. He would like to tell the Republicans, you were nothing before I got here. I made you something. And now that I'm leaving the stage, you're nothing again. So he doesn't want Rubio or Vance to succeed him because then they could take quote unquote credit for something that he did. There's a one-man show. It's Donald J. Trump's show, nobody else's show. And the attack on the Pope is to hit Vance. Yeah. Vance has converted to Catholicism. Vance is writing a book about that conversion. And so Trump is attacking the Pope because it destroys Vance. He has to force Vance on Bret Baier's show to be a supplicant to Donald Trump. You're a dummy. You are bowing to me and you're kneeling to me. You're not kneeling to your God or Jesus or the Pope. And I'm going to excoriate the Pope to emasculate you, JD. I'm also going to send you on these assignments that are impossible so that you come back as a failure.
Are these things believable? Like I said, it's a Friday stream. I got a Nas energy drink right in front of me. And sometimes I just like to dive into some of these speculations from current, former, and maybe future MAGA supporters that are trying to figure out why does JD Vance keep getting set up for these loser moments? I mean, it was kind of embarrassing. They also had him off there in Hungary trying to help out and push Viktor Orban across the finish line. That was embarrassing and a failure. So are they trying to distance themselves from him? It's Anthony Scaramucci, who, by the way, is a former Trump guy. He was in the first administration as the White House communications director. And people talk about how long people last based on how many Scaramuccis, because he lasted 10 days. So some people could write him off as this disgruntled former employee who's just hating. But the speculation sometimes makes a little bit of sense. That's why I'm running it. I don't have any concrete evidence. I don't work in the administration. But there's this last thing, this raw story breakdown that also has more speculation and curiosity and maybe some points as to how and why JD Vance is so gullible and doesn't know that Donald Trump is going to stab his ass in the back.
Source close to President Donald Trump told Zatio that Trump is imploding and may drag Vice President JD Vance down with him.
Is JD here? Where is JD? Oh, JD. He's lost weight. He got a little thinner, and I'm looking for a heavy set gentleman, and now I find a perfect looking specimen.
The report says Trump's support is cratering to historic lows, and with it, Vance's 2028 presidential ambitions. Zatio senior political correspondent Asawin Subseng described Vance as being on a losing streak since becoming vice president, including leaving talks with Iranian officials without an agreement to end the U.S.
He's working on the deal, right? How's that moving? Is it okay? The big deal? You see it happening? So if it doesn't happen, I'm blaming JD Vance. If it does happen, I'm taking full credit.
Nobody should count Vance out of any possible presidential contest, Subseng wrote. But as things currently stand, it is hard to imagine things going worse for the man President Trump has called his handsome son of a, and it's almost entirely because Trump forced Vance into this position. CNN's Harry Enton said Vance's net approval rating fell by 21 points since January 2025, making him historically the least popular vice president at this point.
I do know that Donald Trump many times tries to make himself look better by having people around him to look worse. He said it himself. Don't forget, he talked about the loser line. I like having losers around me because it makes me look better.
I always like to hang around with losers, actually, because it makes me feel better. I hate guys that are very, very successful and you have to listen to their success stories. I like people that like to listen to my success.
And JD Vance seems to fit that mold absolutely perfectly. That's why he maybe has him around. And it's also maybe why he keeps him around until someone needs to be pulled in front of him as all the darts come flying his way. And JD Vance is too stupid to realize it.